Welcome to the Total Football Podcast. My name is Declan Hearn. I'm joined by Andrew Conway.
Hello.
And Matthijs O'Flaherty.
Hello.
This week we discuss the relegation dogfight while also previewing the upcoming full Premier League fixture list this midweek. David Unsworth has a record of 1 win, 1 draw and 4 defeats from 6 games as Everton manager, including only scoring 7 times and conceding 18. This includes conceding 4 to Southampton last Sunday, a team who had only scored 6 times in their previous 12 games at home leading up to this match. We've discussed where we think it's gone wrong for Everton on the pitch, but just how bad can they be off the pitch?
They could sign Shane Long.
That actually sounds like something they would do as well.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Because bringing us into the news, it does look like Big Sam will be appointed Everton boss this week after it looked like he wouldn't last week, which just shows another lack of vision there, I think.
Well, I think Everton, the situation is getting critical for them. They think they need someone in charge before the January transfer window and probably before
they end up in last place.
Yeah. Well, I know we're going to discuss it later on the show, but Everton still aren't in last place. They're only 16th.
Yeah.
It's not the end of the world. With all this doom and gloom, they haven't fallen to the depths of...
They lost 5-1 to Atalanta, though.
Yeah, but Atalanta, they've a good young team.
They sold all their players in the summer.
Yeah, they still have a few players. The Polish guys there.
Schick.
Yeah.
Is he still there?
That Danish captain, I think, plays for Atalanta. Or is it the Danish striker?
Yeah. Still not much, though.
No, it isn't great.
5-1 at home.
All right, they're weaker than they used to be, but...
Are we defending Atalanta over Everton for this? Poor David Unsworth.
I mean, Everton, with how much they've spent over the summer and how much they've been talking about wanting to kick on, to be in 16th...
They've completely regressed.
Completely, yeah. And I mean, they're almost doing Leeds at this point,
There's a danger of that, and I suppose that is why the rush is on now, because previously Martin O'Neill was linked.
Yeah, over the weekend he was the bookies' favourite, the whole weekend.
That would have benefited everyone, really.
Yeah.
Martin O'Neill probably he hasn't gone because most likely they were only offering him a 6-month contract in the season, similar to David Moyes at West Ham, and probably for O'Neill to leave such a cushy number as the Ireland.
Yeah, he's got that for another 2 years.
Most likely.
If he does sign that contract that's on the table.
Yeah, and I don't think the FAI are going to show him the door for talking to Everton.
Yeah.
But are Everton best suited to getting a guy in on a 6-month contract? They were at the stage where they really wanted to attack the top 6 and start challenging for a Champions League qualification. And that only comes when you have a proper system in place. Look at Tottenham. They brought in Pochettino. They bought in
what
they
tried to bring in Marco Silva.
They did, yeah.
See, I think it could be a case of they bring someone in for 6 months and they go for Marco Silva again in the summer.
But that's pretty much what Koeman was meant to do this year, and that fell through completely. And... there are multiple reasons, partially because he bought too many playmakers, partially because...
He didn't want to manage Everton, really.
He didn't really want to manage Everton.
Better job.
Yeah. But at the same time, that should have worked better than it did. So what happens if Marco Silva doesn't manage to transform the club? Where are they left with? What are they left with then?
Obviously, Tony Pulis.
He's never been relegated as manager, as everyone keeps saying.
And if Sam Allardyce doesn't work out, I wouldn't be surprised by the end of the week if you hear Tony Pulis being announced as Everton manager.
That would be so bizarre. He just sacked and he already gets an upgrade.
Yeah, but that's something. That's how it happened with Stoke. Basically, he goes to Crystal Palace as it was at the time, with a London club, a so-called big city club, and brought them on, even though he didn't end well with Stoke. And it's happened to Mark Hughes on multiple occasions as well. Yeah. With Blackburn and going to Fulham and going. Where was he after Fulham again?
I think he's been at Stoke the whole time.
But leaving when he was Wales and then Blackburn and then Man City, and then Man City went terribly. He still got hired back.
Yeah, he was Blackburn then after that. He got that pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But with Everton, there's still all those managers are just the managers the clubs ring in when they're trying not to get relegated.
Yeah.
Everton, I mean, they can be happy with that, but surely they're too big a club for that to be the primary concern every season.
Yeah, they are.
Well, they've got huge investment from a billionaire owner now, from a billionaire co-owner.
Yeah, they spent more this summer, not to bring it back to Atalanta, but they spent more this summer than Atalanta have in the last 10 years combined.
Yeah. And they bought good players. I don't think there is... We've talked about before that...
And they bought Wayne Rooney.
And Wayne Rooney still scored and played well. He's been one of the best performers this season, in fairness to Wayne Rooney.
That says more about Everton
than it does. But they still have some of the best, most coveted young players in Europe at the side. Davy Klaassen was highly rated at Ajax, and he left to...
Even the youth products at Everton, Coleman did bring through several young players that have been playing for Everton this season. Like they brought in Tom Davis, Ademola Lookman, they have Mason Holgate, they have Brendan Galloway, they have Kenny, I think was the guy.
And they signed Jordan Pickford, a good young English goalkeeper, and they signed Keane.
Yeah, Michael Keane
to
from Burnley.
To replace aging players in the squad. They still Coleman to come back. They have Morgan Schneiderling. They have James McCarthy still at the club somehow. They have a base of a good deep squad there.
They do, but they've no idea from the top what type of football they want to play. They need to appoint a manager who will build a tactical system around the players he has that suits the team, that will be the club's tactical system going forward for the next however many years. But the decision of what type of system to play has to come from the people at the top, and they have no idea right now.
Well, didn't they sign one of the...
They signed your man from Leicester.
Yeah, the sporting director. He's appointed sporting director or whatever.
Steve Walsh.
Everton, who made most of these signings at the summer. And, in fairness to him, probably did an okay job in the transfer market. I know they were after a centre forward. They were meant to have terms agreed with Giroud before it fell apart.
Yeah.
Maybe another player should have been sought after that kind of fell apart, and it didn't, and the season couldn't.
Because they still had at least 2 weeks to sort that out. Because I remember Wenger after the first match of the season saying Giroud was staying.
But as it's been mentioned a lot over the last few years, it's very hard to find strikers that are of a high quality.
Yeah, and replacing someone like Lukaku is a difficult task as well.
It's not easy to go out there and buy Nicholas Bentner from Rosenborg,
to
come in and score all your goals for you. So, it's not an easy game to play in terms of the transfer market.
But they still probably should have done better than they have done.
In terms of transfers, I don't know what else they could have, bar getting that centre forward.
I mean, just in a sense that they could have signed a centre forward.
Yeah, I think it's more... Momentum has killed them this year. They had an okay start, if you remember.
Yeah, they're the only team to have gotten anything out of Man City this season, which is the most bizarre thing.
Just completely collapsed, and I'm not sure what was the cause of that. They seemed to have low confidence left in Coleman. They just gave up. It seemed that way, and they couldn't defend. Coleman was trying different formations, going back to 3-5-2 and stuff like that. Nothing was working. The teams were pressing, closing them down. It's like they figured it out so quickly, and then the young players' confidence went. They started picking up little niggly injuries that kind of cost them at crucial times. Ross Barkley's still out, with no sign of him coming back.
Yeah, he doesn't seem like he's interested in playing for the club anymore.
No, and you know what? There's no idea what's in store for Everton in their future. Someone like Big Sam, though it's a short-term appointment, might be the only thing to keep them in the league if they're still going.
Yeah, because if they stayed with David Unsworth for the rest of the season, they'd definitely be a candidate to go down.
Well, there's 2 more matches in the next 5 days that they have to play. They could easily just be in a how many losing match run would that be at that stage?
They beat Watford a couple of weeks ago somehow, so that kind of helps.
Yeah,
helps it look on paper.
4 or 5 defeats in the space of 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah.
That's not going to look good when you're looking at players looking for confidence or signings trying to get in a centre forward in the winter. And they're like, I don't know, he might go down. You know?
It limits what they can bring in completely. But we thought that Everton would be able to push on and maybe we thought for sure that they'd get Europa League qualification, but instead it seems Burnley are the favourites for Europa League qualification. They were unlucky yesterday not to go level on points at Liverpool or go close to Liverpool because they were denied a last minute penalty, or they conceded a last minute penalty against Arsenal. Rather, they were conceded you know what I mean?
Yeah, it was, who was it on Aaron Ramsey in the 90s?
Tarkowski, I think.
Tarkowski in the 90s kind of pushed and pulled a free kick that's often given outside the box.
Yeah.
Seldom given in the box, and whenever it's given in the box, it makes headlines, and especially if you do it in the 92nd or 93rd minute of the match. It's, Burnley are a funny little team because they play the most, we go on about expected goals here, but Burnley are in the weirdest point of expected goals if we were to look at it. They're a point between, they're not expected to score many goals, which they don't, if they don't follow through, but they also don't concede any goals, but they are winning more games than they should be. And that has them in the Europa League places.
But the thing is, their stats that say Burnley should have conceded, they've conceded the most amount of shots in the league this season, but if you look at the quality of the shots they've conceded, A lot of them are long-range efforts that people just take out of frustration.
Yeah. Well, they're playing a clearly defined 2 banks of 4 or 5, depending on what time of the match it is. But eventually this gets you. One, their players get tired and they're not able to keep up the pressing and not able to keep up the shape and the form of everything. And little players pull away from them and they push them and they give away a penalty like they did yesterday. And secondly, you invite so much pressure that eventually one of these poor shots is going to result in something, a chance, a deflected shot has happened to them already this season, or conceding a penalty late on. Because I think in the last 25 minutes, Arsenal had something mad. Overall, I think Arsenal had 79% of possession in the match.
Yeah.
Or I might think the Man City match. I might be thinking of the Man City match. But they had a very high percentage of the possession in the last 25 minutes was near total.
Yeah, it was total domination last half
Burnley
hour.
only had the ball through clearances or goal kicks or kind of little things like that. Barely had it in Arsenal territory at all. And it was just inviting more and more pressure that eventually the wall would break if you put enough stress on it.
And, like, say what you will about that penalty incident, like, Brady probably should have been sent off and there should have been a penalty earlier in the match.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of even out in the end, maybe even helped Burnley a little because Brady didn't get sent off.
Well, there was one where it was just a free kick in the match, but Ramsey got clattered during the match by a Burnley player.
I think that was Brady. I think that was...
But it was
before.
A free kick given against
Ramsey.
Ramsey.
I remember that, yeah.
And it was just like, the referee did not have a good match yesterday.
Yeah, the refereeing in general this weekend was fairly poor. Like, I can't think of any good refereeing performance all weekend.
No, I mean, obviously, there's the United game, which had a couple of high-profile incidents.
Yeah, that was the biggest refereeing mistake this weekend was the Lukaku. And just everything with that goal was just terrible refereeing. It shouldn't have been a corner. Lukaku should have been sent off, and it should have been a free out, not a goal.
Yeah.
And all we'll say is, the power of Old Trafford on referees seems to be strong.
Yeah,
especially
it's
when
coming back
Mourinho
now.
is there.
In a post-Ferguson world,
there's a lot of
it's
pressure.
the strongest it's ever been now.
I'm not sure, go on.
Sorry, but I was just going to say, out of all the managers in the league who would have the personality to, interfere with referees' thoughts, maybe even on a subconscious level, with the way Ferguson always did, Mourinho's probably the biggest
he complains
one.
about it just so often. The referees it's just in the back of their mind, they must be thinking about it.
Yeah.
Interfere is a great word for it because, as we saw today later on, Lukaku, this incident we're talking about, if you didn't see the match, in the lead up to the Manchester United goal, would exclude that it probably wasn't a...
Oh, it wasn't a corner.
It wasn't a corner to Manchester United, but they received it anyway.
Because of Lukaku, he convinced the referee.
Yeah, which, when you see that, you always have question marks because generally speaking, officials don't change their minds once their minds are made up. And
I don't think the ref changed their mind. I think they were just slow to make a decision.
Yeah, but that's also the same type of situation. But then, leading up to the goal, there was pushing and pulling in the box, and obviously Lukaku was getting frustrated at the close attention that Bong was playing to him, and went to kick him not once where he missed, but twice, and the second time went a ferocious backwards kick that, if it connected, would have caused a serious amount of pain on Bong, but instead didn't quite make it. Bong did react temporarily, as if he'd been kicked in a sensitive area.
But he didn't make a big fuss about it.
No, because there was
the ball was just literally flying into the back of the net at that point.
And Bong was moving to adjust to get in line with his fellow defenders, so players would be offside. He'd play the offside trap. But if it wasn't for that, maybe it would have just been a free kick and something more would have been made of it. Yeah,
and maybe because Bong didn't react, that might have been why. Because there was a disciplinary hearing today on Monday that looked at the incident, and they said that he got away with it essentially. Like, he wasn't given a 3-match ban, which was expected.
But
I feel Lukaku's very lucky to have gotten away with that, really, because it looked like clear violent conduct.
Yeah.
I think there's a fear, going back to your point about they interfere with the referee's mindset. There's a fear on behalf, because it was 3 independent referees apparently judged.
Yeah, it's like the way the system for diving.
Yeah,
it's the same system.
Yeah, so they looked at the incident and they decided no further action was required. Like, we get to see sometimes on BT Sport, you get to see the referees and their views on things. If you remember Mane earlier in the season, when he clashed with Everton.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Mark Clattenburg said, there was no intent to really, wasn't looking at him, so he wouldn't have given anything, even though it was clear, dangerous and reckless play.
Yeah.
The referees can take a different view on it for whatever reason. They're kind of left, a thing that is often overlooked in football. We don't look at how the referees actually think about the game. Maybe that's something we should look at. If referees don't think that certain things are fouls, maybe they shouldn't be referees. And if in that, it's not as serious, obviously, in the Lukaku case, but maybe they should be made in a more public setting.
Yeah.
I know they can say that, then the referees are even more subject to bias or being called out in their action by not being anonymous. But at the same time,
they need to be held accountable as well for
exactly,
when they do things wrong.
Exactly. So and I think there will be a lot less, disputes about these things, because the worry about this is already there's VAR in various European leagues.
Yeah.
And with VAR, you'll have this in every single match. And if you don't have confidence in the referee commission, 3 referees looking at a incident days after, or the day after them. Is it days after?
It was a couple of days.
A couple of days after the incident, so they could have seen it hundreds of times, heard from various different things. They had loads of opportunity to fix it, to kind of either decide, is this right or is this wrong? And they still decide against what would be the, kind of common sense approach.
Yeah.
He did kind of kick out of him, whatever you think about it. He did kick out of him.
Oh, yeah.
And it's, if you don't think it was, he didn't make contact or anything like that, I think that slides into the definition of reckless endangerment of the opponent.
I'd fully agree. And I mean, I almost think that more transparency could be a good thing, because referees feel the need most of the time to back the decision that's being made on the field. You don't want to contradict your fellow referee without like a good, proper reason to. Even when, like, the red card rule, reckless conduct, isn't that, that can get you sent off.
Yeah.
There are some moments, I mean, we've seen a couple, those red cards where you're lunging in for the ball and you just slide over it, or the ball's just gone. Some referees will view that as reckless. Some referees will just view it as, unlucky that you were late, that you try to make a proper attempt on the ball, and that's just a yellow card. And that's why VAR won't be a complete panacea for, bad refereeing in the game. But if we had a bit more transparency there, we could see, which refs agree, which refs disagree, because that's part of football too, the different styles of refereeing a match. And like, different referees will referee games differently. They'll let more go, they'll try to play the game a bit more, or some will play it right down to the letter of the law, stop it for minor things. You'll have a much more stop-start game.
Yeah.
And I think it's good to see which referees are willing to let things go a bit more, which referees, and let them sort of stand by themselves so that they're being consistent about it.
Yeah.
Because that way you can't blame Jose Mourinho for getting under the manager's skin and saying it's just for United. No, you can look back at their previous decisions and see, no, this is just a referee who likes to let the game flow.
Yeah. And in advance, and this happens in other sports, you see it in rugby, for better or worse, a lot of referees have a certain style, and okay, this referee is going to let anything go in a scrum or in a line-out or anything like that. And similarly in football, okay, this referee is going to let the game flow, i.e. isn't going to give niggly fouls. Or this referee is very to the letter of the law. If you pull a jersey, expect a free kick. And in certain areas that's already known about referees, and referees have leniency at different times of the game. Like, in England, it's very common for referees not to book players if they make a bad challenge in the first few minutes of the match, because it's just getting started, I don't want to ruin the game and the attention becoming on that. But if you're in Spain or Italy, if there's a bad challenge, they'll book someone in the first minute as well as they do in the 88th minute. So there's an evolution there, and it's going to more standards to come through. I would hope that in the future you get a kind of, technology will come more into the refereeing mindset as well. We're looking at VAR in Spain, or not in Spain, but in Italy and in Germany and in, I think, France. Does France have it? Or no?
The Dutch have it.
The Dutch have it, yes. They are, they're adopting this new method, and it is working. There's teething problems as there is with anything like that. But I want to see it move even more into technology at the highest level. In America, you have pinpoint accuracy on things like in American football with yardage. That, exactly how far did the ball go? Did it go forward or go back? Because it's important decisions rest on this. Why can't that same technology, instant reaction, apply to offside rules? Or why can't it apply to where the ball crossed the line route, which we are slowly seeing being integrated into the game with the various technology being used for it?
Yeah, the argument from the FA as I understand it, is that they want to have a sort of even playing field between grassroots football and Premier League football. Mm-hmm. That the sort of instant reaction decisions like offside would require overhead cameras and cameras from the side, something that's just not feasible at, lower levels. Yeah. Especially because obviously, your local football club will not have the money for this. They won't have the infrastructure. So you've got to decide a cut-off point. And does that cut-off point come at League Two, where there are a lot of clubs who still won't be able to afford it? Does it come in the Championship? So then League One clubs jumping up have to make all those extra adaptations. That costs them a lot of money that they get through promotion. It makes it harder to stay in the new league. You have less money available. So I can see why there'd be problems with that approach too.
I see what you mean, and it is a concern. It's not an easy thing to just say. Well, they have done it. There is previous for this. They did it before when it came to All-Seater Stadia. Yeah. They just said, no, to be in the league, you have to have...
That did require Hillsborough to activate that sort of change.
There'll never be anything to that kind of extent, and hopefully not, regarding to video refereeing or regarding any type of technology advanced in refereeing. But I look again to other sports, and in other sports, it is down to the club what type of match is being played. I like rugby matches. Some rugby matches in the Rabo Pro 12 over here in Ireland, they apply the stopwatch to it, the stop clock to it. I.e., every time there's a breakage in play, they stop the clock. While in other matches in the same league, they won't apply it because the technology won't be available to hand at the time of the match, or won't be there to them. So they'll run and they'll do stoppage time, and there'll be 6 minutes of added time or something like that. They'll play 86 minutes. The same thing could apply to soccer. So if you have an FA Cup match between, think of a non-league Lincoln against, Manchester United played at Lincoln's ground, they don't have ability to do this. You just don't have it. Simple as that. There is, I think, too much of a focus on everyone plays to the same, as if every single match in the FA Cup is played to the standard as if it was played on Wembley. And while that is a noble thing to have, a noble pursuit to aim towards, it's not always feasible, and it's not always to the betterment of those.
Yeah, there comes a point in time when the Premier League there's so much more at stake in the Premier League than there is in League Two. There's, not to undermine League Two, but there is more at stake in the Premier League match, especially with the amount of money that's in the Premier League now. If it's the difference between a side staying up and a side going down, that is a lot of money to a club.
And the people it affects when you have a situation where you have vile abuse going to the referee. Was it Chris Foy,
yeah.
The referee, and Chris Hoy, the
yeah,
the British cyclist. He getting barrages of abuse because people thought he was the referee for weeks and weeks, and he still gets it from occasionally if Chris Foy,
whichever one
it is, makes a bad mistake in matches, and things like this happening, or various players getting attacked. This would eliminate a lot of that hate, and it happens at a big scale at international level clubs, at big Premier League level clubs, and at clubs across Europe where they just get thunderous abuse that would be resolved. And a lot of the referees their lives would be so much easier with this support. I think that it's something to help them rather than something to hinder them.
Yeah, but the thing is, the FA see doing these disciplinary meetings as undermining their referees as opposed to helping them, which just compounds the problem.
Yeah, and maybe they need to reapproach how you go back and you review things like this. Because in other countries, you can appeal yellow cards and you can appeal decisions that have already been made.
Yeah, in La Liga you can appeal yellows. And it's such a better system.
Yeah, it's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but it shows a little bit of progression in thinking.
Yeah, and we will get onto refereeing problems in La Liga. No league is perfect, but it's a good idea.
Yeah.
But we were talking about Everton being the only side to get anything from Manchester City so far this season. Huddersfield came very close.
They did.
It was a good effort.
They're a very, very difficult team to beat in Huddersfield. I think, is it only United that have done it so far? Tottenham, yeah. They took points off United.
Yeah, they beat United.
They beat United, and they drew with Liverpool, wasn't it?
Have they played them?
No, I thought they lost to Liverpool, did they not?
No, they've only lost one at home.
They have only
lost. I can't remember. That might have been at Anfield.
Oh, yeah, it was at
Anfield, right. Yeah. His wedding, etc. and so forth.
Yes. No, but either way, Huddersfield are proving themselves a very difficult team to beat. And I think City came up against that as well.
Yeah. They were 1-0 up at one point. They went in at half time and 1-0 up.
Yeah, it's the first time, I think, think it's more than a decade that Man City have won a match having been losing at half-time.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think I saw that stat over the weekend. Now, there was an immediate penalty afterwards to kind of bring it back into
and the penalty should have been given.
Yeah, they were like Man City are by far the best team
in England,
league,
if not in Europe.
Currently at the moment, and they really only let in a goal because of Fabian Delph, who is not a left back.
Yeah,
playing at left back and being naive and is kind of tracking and running and becoming too focused on attack rather than defense.
And like Huddersfield did create chances. Like they proved to be a good counter-attacking team as well.
Yeah, like they have in them what it could take to stay up in the league and to compete in the league, similar to the way that German clubs switched about 10 years ago to playing this high pressure attacking, counter-attacking game that Huddersfield play, that maybe they have what it takes to stay in the league, even though their players mightn't necessarily be at the level of other.
But they've shown, or Wagner has at least shown an intelligence. Like he's clearly learning, because they went out all guns blazing trying to attack Tottenham, and they got ripped apart by Tottenham. And then the next match they had at home was against Manchester United, where they sat deeper and broke, and they actually performed much better against the top side.
In fairness, in that Tottenham match, there are absolute flukes of goals that went in. If you remember, was that the one that Harry Kane tried to take a cross and it went into the top corner?
Oh, I know it was that against Huddersfield. I think that was against someone else at home.
Oh, okay. I thought that was the match, because that was the...
I do remember that goal. I think
Son scored.
I think that was someone else.
Okay, but that's they are a good side. They are improving, even though Raheem Sterling's face denied them a point.
Yeah, it was a bizarre goal, really. Jesus brought the impact that Pep would have wanted, but I don't think that's how Pep would have expected it either.
Yeah, just an absolute fluke of a goal, but it shows you, similar to the Arsenal match, what we were saying, if you sit back too long and invite so much pressure, eventually the wall will crack.
Especially when the teams like Arsenal and City have such good players to bring on fresh to hurt you.
Like Jesus is a great player to be able to bring on.
Like how many goals and assists they have already this season? It's in double figures.
Yeah, they're all.
And when Huddersfield, who do play that German high intensity game, they're going to tire more than a side who'll just sit and soak up a lot more pressure.
Yeah, they created a lot more chances in the first half than they did.
Exactly. Yeah, they will fade in games, and when you've that sort of quality to bring off the bench, that will hurt you. Yeah. But at the same time, Huddersfield will take it as a lesson learned and move on.
Yeah, like their season doesn't depend on matches.
No,
exactly.
Like they're expected to lose this match. Like they've not really lost anything in the long run.
They have another match coming up in midweek, which is another one that they're not expected to get anything out of against Arsenal, I think.
Yeah.
And once they get these matches out of the way, I think they're in a clean run of playing, similar.
Yeah, and that's when it really matters.
Yeah, we'll see how they do come Christmas.
Then in the big match of the weekend, Liverpool were held at home against Chelsea and are now left in 6th place and 14 points off Manchester City. Is Liverpool's aura against the big teams wearing away?
I don't know if it is or not. I personally think that Liverpool were probably the better side in this match. They had a bit of a weird selection.
Yeah, I was very confused by the team selection by Klopp. I thought he'd gotten it wrong when I saw it first.
I don't know if he got it wrong. He just wasn't playing. He was going to play a much more compact team, I think, without much pace. That was designed to kind of batter Chelsea into submission.
But I don't think it worked. I don't think it was the right idea.
Not necessarily, but it nearly worked.
Like Mane, I don't know, was he injured going into the match or something? But you have to wonder why he's not starting a match of this magnitude.
There's a lot of matches coming up and a lot of important matches for Liverpool. So
This is Chelsea, though.
Yeah, but that's Man City won the league.
No, but they need to get ground on these. Like as I said, they're 6th. They're 4 points off, or they're 3 points off Chelsea, I think.
Yeah.
Like they need to catch up.
I mean, you've got to remember when you're saying is Liverpool's aura against big teams wearing away. Chelsea, I think, are the second best against big teams over the last 2 or 3 years. They're not they're probably
they won the league last season, but they dropped most of their points against the big teams last season.
That's because they were just beating the small teams more than anybody else. They were still getting more points against the big teams than Tottenham and Arsenal and United were last year.
Like Chelsea won the league last year because they didn't draw matches. That was their main thing. They either won or lost.
Yeah.
And Chelsea, they were, I think, willing to settle for the draw against Liverpool. They were quite happy to sit back and
they were the away team.
Exactly.
Getting a point at Anfield is a good result.
Yeah. And when Liverpool do tend to struggle against teams that park the bus, that properly stay back, and when Chelsea are focused on that, I think they're one of the best teams in the league at doing that.
Yeah.
You know, at setting back and just disrupting.
No matter who the manager is.
No matter who, yeah. I mean, like, they have a very solid back five.
Yeah.
The two centre mids were Kante and Bakayoko.
And
Drinkwater in front of them.
as well.
So, like...
defensive.
Exactly. Fabregas would have been playing if they were going for a win from the start.
Yeah.
They had Hazard up front. He was looking, to get the goal on the break.
Yeah, and he was fantastic.
And he was very good, yeah. There were some chances there. Drinkwater could have had a goal or two.
Yeah, Danny Drink with the ball just kind of floated over his head and didn't attack it, but he was in loads of space.
Hazard was unlucky once or twice as well. Yeah, I mean, I think Chelsea were very happy with their game plan. Conte will take a draw. Exactly. They sat back. They frustrated Liverpool, who didn't have all that many clear chances.
Yeah.
Even the goal they did score came from Bakayoko making a fairly big mistake.
He was poor in that match. That was probably his worst match at Chelsea so far.
Yeah, he was quite poor. And then Chelsea did, especially in the first half, have 3 or 4 quite good chances.
Yeah, I think it was Alonso who nearly scored a free kick in the first half as well.
Yeah, and on another day, Chelsea could have had 2 in the first half, 2-0 up, shut up shop, and come away with a win, Yeah. So I think Chelsea are more than happy with how they ended up. And Liverpool, they did their best with it, but at the same time, they were probably the better team over the game. But I think that's more because Chelsea let them be the better team, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and Salah was just shoulders above everyone on the pitch. He was fantastic, and he's been in one of the signings of the season so far.
So far, he scored 14 goals now.
I think he's on 15 now.
15
in all
goals.
Competitions.
And if he actually could improve his finishing a little bit more.
Yeah, the weird thing he's the top scorer in the Premier League, but I think he's still a poor finisher.
He's still taking a lot of shots. I have 2 points in this match very quickly. One, I think Bakayoko.
Yeah,
his downturn in form, there wasn't much upturn really at the end of the season either. He's been solid though. Is probably down to the number of games he's been forced to play. Because remember, he came in injured at the end of the season. Came back early from injury. Has played a lot of minutes and a lot of games. Conte does this with his teams. He overplays his players until they reach a breaking point.
And that was not a problem last season because they weren't in Europe last season.
Exactly. But especially, they've just played in Azerbaijan. That is one of the biggest away trips in Europe they could have had. And Conte started a lot of first-team players out there.
Yeah. He needed to.
He needed to. Karabag had already taken points off Atletico twice. Chelsea needed the win there. Mm-hmm. At the same time, that is a lot of tired legs coming back on the plane. And with not much time to rest either.
And it sounds like Conte, instead of letting them rest, he was talking to them about Liverpool as well, which doesn't help the issue.
And they're one of the most hard-running teams in the league, Liverpool, so you'll have your work cut out for you to play them. The second point about them is disregarding both teams. Looking at them, I don't think either of these teams are going to come close to challenging for the league.
No.
I don't think Chelsea have, I know what you're saying, they have good defensive midfielders.
Yes. Yeah.
But beyond the fact
they rely on Hazard.
Defense, and Hazard, I know I'm not Hazard's biggest fan. He's not a one-man team, and you need someone to finish. They wouldn't have won the league last year without Costa. They wouldn't have won the league last year without other players contributing goals.
I agree, yeah.
So they don't have that this season. Yeah. Morata is a very good player, there's no doubt about that, but he's not Diego Costa.
But you look at who's been, I think he's their highest, he's joining up well with Morata. Cesar Azpilicueta has got 5 or 6 assists already this season.
But they can't be relying on
that's my point. Yeah. They can't rely on Azpilicueta for that for a whole season.
Yeah, and it's going to come one way or the other. They drew this match, you said they didn't try to win it, and there's going to be a lot more matches between here and January, that including big matches they have to play against rivals, that it's not going to be as easy as it was yesterday.
Yeah, I'd agree. Yeah. Chelsea, they came into this season, needing depth more than anything, because their first 11 is still one of the best in the league. And they were champions last year, obviously, but without Europe, without the extra games, I think it might have tricked the board into not realising just how badly they needed the extra depth. They sold Matic, brought in Bakayoko, so that's a 1-for-1. They brought in Morata, but Costa's gone. That's 1-for-1. They brought in Drinkwater, who's not a bad signing, but at the same time, that's one central midfielder. They're left with...
They probably needed last year.
Yeah, exactly. They're left with 4 senior central midfielders now, and they quite often played 3 central midfielders in one game. That's
especially against the big teams.
Especially against the big teams. Yeah. And with Fabregas, as good a player as he is, he doesn't have the stamina to play twice a week.
No,
at all.
Not anymore.
Not at the best. Not at his best.
No.
So he's already a player who has to be carried sometimes. Yeah. So it's really going to be hard on the legs for the other central midfielders to try and work over that, and especially with the injuries they've had. Bakayoko came into the season injured. Kante was a month out. Mm-hmm. Drinkwater was injured. He was.
Morata's injury prone.
And
then Conte himself was falling out with players, and the defence was.
Yeah, David Luiz hasn't played. I don't think.
But then quality players he loaned out as well, like Zuma and other people. Like, why did you get rid of them? The failure to sign backups for players like Moses and other type of important positions for them.
I think Chelsea probably need at least another year or two before they can go back to challenging City the way they are now.
Yeah, which I'd say...
like, City could even get better in that time. Like, City are going to the best.
But Chelsea have priors for this. They do this every couple of years. Whenever they win a trophy, they become complacent almost overnight. And like, you've won it now, win it again.
Yeah.
And they never, no, that's not how you do it. You have to destroy to create.
Yes. The season Mourinho won the league, they signed almost nobody that summer.
Yeah. And Mourinho kicked off.
And Mourinho,
And everyone called it, that's just Jose Mourinho. But it's the same thing happened for Conte.
He was completely right.
Yeah, it was foreshadowing.
Even when Di Matteo won the Champions League for them, they won. They signed very few players.
They brought in Hazard.
They brought in Hazard that season.
Yeah, that's what got them in. But the rest of the team, Hazard was not. Well, he was.
And they signed Oscar as well that season. There were a few signings made.
But they lost. Think of it. Frank Lampard was past his best at that point. Didier Drogba was.
Yeah, that was a time when they absolutely needed a new team.
I feel it is a little harsh to expect any team to replace like the caliber of players Chelsea were losing there, because that was like the last hurrah of the old guard.
Like Drogba gone.
Drogba was gone. Lampard was out the door after a year after that.
Terry was on downward trend.
Terry, he kept going, but he wasn't the same anymore. Cech left. Was it a year, 2 years after that?
Courtois came in.
Ashley Cole. Was the same.
Even like Ivanovic.
There are a lot of players that weren't at their peaks from there on.
I feel that season can be forgiven in that context, because that was a far bigger transition.
But even after Ancelotti won the league with the same exact squad that won the Champions League like 3 years later, very few players were added to that side in the interim. Was it Juan Mata was probably the biggest player that was in that team that wasn't in the Ancelotti side.
Yeah.
Chelsea just keep on doing this. They do it every time
they do, and that's, I think, partially because the board are more made up of business people than football people. They don't really appreciate. Yeah.
But then the owner, Roman Abramovich, visits the training ground if they lose one match and demands answers and demands results, and then they don't get them, and then the manager is sacked. This would, hypothetically, if this was to happen, how many managers has it been consecutively that have been sacked for a small, poor run in form after doing well? Yeah, you're looking at even Philippe Scolari. He's been in the news recently because he won the best starts ever to Premier League season. Was sacked before the end of the season because
he didn't even last that whole season.
Even though he had one of the best starts to a Premier League season ever, and that team went on to the Champions League.
I feel he may Chelsea, when they reappointed Jose Mourinho, I think were conscious of that and tried to sort of change this, the image of the team a bit and the image of the board, because they did give Mourinho a lot of time, and partially obviously because he's Jose Mourinho, what he means to the club, but at the same time, even Jose Mourinho, I think, was lucky enough to still be in a job while he was 16th. Was he 16, 17?
Very bad,
that was... I think he was given, a fair amount of time. I don't think he was sacked too early.
Of all the sackings that Chelsea have had under Abramovich, that one was oddly the one that went on the longest, when it should have been ended as quickly as possible.
So maybe it's changed.
It's been 4.5 years, I think, since Mourinho was appointed. And for any big club, I think 2-3 years is about as much as you can expect from your manager now. So I don't know yet, is this a permanent change? Is this a proper thing? But I do think, they kind of looked at the way it was going and said it couldn't continue.
So we'll see if Conte will be there next year.
Yeah, that'll be very interesting. Moving away from the Premier League, in La Liga, Barcelona were playing against Valencia in the top of the table clash. Finished 1-1. It was a good game, but refereeing, we were talking about refereeing mistakes earlier. Refereeing mistakes kind of marred this match as well. Messi should have had a goal given that clearly went over the line, that for some reason Spain doesn't have goal line technology, so it wasn't given.
It also doesn't seem to have assistant referees who can see
the
referee.
Like you could see it on the from watching on TV, you could see it had gone over the line.
Yeah, but the assistant referee should have a sideways glance at that to see the line, but obviously he wasn't paying attention.
In the second half, Valencia should have had a penalty at 1-0 up. The Messi incident happened at 0-0. Valencia did score them at 1-0 up. They should have had a penalty then at 1-0 that wasn't given.
Mm-hmm.
And you could say that it evened up the match, but it did kind of ruin the contest as well in another sense.
Yeah, and Barcelona were very angry even to the end about that decision because the players, when...
It completely changes the game going in.
But when Jordi Alba scored the equaliser for Barcelona in the 80-something minute, they were still angry.
Yeah.
The Barcelona players, you could see them being vocal about their unhappiness with the referee and how the match had gone, and there was kind of indication that he eventually scored a goal. These decisions happen all the time, and in Spain they're hyper focused because there's the two big clubs have such power over the rest of the league that I'm sure we're going to hear about this, and I wouldn't be surprised if at least goal line technology is in La Liga next season.
They've already announced VAR is coming in next season.
So for VAR, are you able to challenge goal line technology or goal line decisions?
I don't know,
because that's one interesting thing, because generally VAR is only applied if the referee has made a decision to go to VAR.
Yeah.
He mightn't necessarily go to VAR. It's why it differs from the English model where they, the watch goes off, the ball goes over the line. It could be an interesting thing. It mightn't solve an issue like this happening.
Yeah. Well, we'll see if they do announce goal line technology between now and the end.
Certainly this is going to kick up a stink now. Valverde, the Barcelona manager, was magnanimous. He didn't really take it personally, the whole decision, even though, Barcelona fans would think it cost them result, it cost them the lead, certainly. He said that a while ago he got a goal against Malaga that was disallowed, or that was allowed even though the ball had crossed over out of play.
Yeah.
So he said these things happen in football, just to paraphrase him, that's what he said. He's fair enough.
It is actually nice to see a manager not complaining about the referee.
Yeah, if that was the aforementioned Jose Mourinho, I'd say he'd
be never hear the end of it.
Yeah. He would have lost his mind at it. Remember that time he threw a TV monitor?
Vaguely, yeah.
Then they had to remove all the TV monitors from Premier League grounds in the technical area.
Yeah.
Because Mourinho tried to show the referee the days before the iPad, and he's trying to show them a little CRT television.
Of course. But because Real Madrid won against Malaga 3-2.
Ronaldo scored a goal.
Yeah, and he set up one for Benzema as well.
Yeah, he also scored a goal. Two of them.
They closed the gap to 8 points now.
Yeah, I think before this game they had something like the least combined goals out of the two main strikers for any team in the top 5 leagues besides Benevento. Benevento, who have lost their first 13, 14 games in a row. Yeah, the worst start to a season ever. In any major European league. I mean, Ronaldo's been out of sorts, so we'll see. Was this a good game, or is it him actually catching form for the first time this season?
Well, I think Ronaldo's on a downward trend.
But he the last couple of seasons he has started slowly. Not this slowly, but he has started slowly.
Yeah, but I don't think... I fully think Ronaldo will get 30 goals this season, don't get me wrong. He will get to that number. He will get probably between 5 and 10 goals in the Champions League if he hasn't already reached 5 goals.
I think he already has 5 in the Champions League.
He'll probably get to double figures in the Champions League. He'll probably score a good 20 more goals in the La Liga, if not more. But I don't think
he's definitely not the player he once was.
No.
He is aging.
He's not going to carry Portugal to any other fantastic semi-finals in the World Cup or anything like that.
He's not going to coach them on the touchline again.
No, well, he might do that, but I don't think he's going to be as good as he once was.
Yeah.
No, and I think if he doesn't score 30-odd goals in this Madrid team that's completely set up around him scoring goals, Madrid are in serious trouble too.
Yeah, well, you say that, speaking of that, you say that the gap between Barcelona and Madrid's been cut to 8 points. That is the first points Barcelona have dropped in a while, and they've dropped into the team in second place. So they haven't lost any ground on the actual main rival they've had in Valencia so far this season.
It's still a 4-point gap.
It is. So I still think that when Real Madrid go to play the other big teams, they will be under serious pressure, and they will
like
not.
El Clasico in the end of December. Like,
Yes, that's still the crucial match. 8
Yeah.
points is still, as you said before, was it 9 points? No one's ever recovered.
Yeah, no one's
9
recovered from 8, or Real Madrid have never recovered from 8 points.
Yeah, so I still think that they're unlikely to recover at this point. I'd say this might be Zidane's last season at Real Madrid.
Yeah, I could see that as well. But in the Bundesliga, Bayern Munich lost their first match first match under Jupp Heynckes this season. Rather, is this just a once-off?
Well, Jupp Heynckes has a bad record against Borussia Mönchengladbach.
Yeah, Bayern in general. I think Pep even
Bayern
had
in
a
general,
bad.
yeah, I think the last 15 games Bayern have played against them, they've won 6, drawn 5, lost 5,
Yeah.
which to a mid-table team like Mönchengladbach isn't a good.
That's bad.
They're
by
historic
Bayern Munich
rivals
standards.
going back to decades. But yeah, it isn't great.
And then in the big match in Bundesliga, I think this weekend, Dortmund in terrible form. I think we all know what happened. They went 4-0 up. They were cruising against their huge rival Schalke
At home.
I think it's 4-0 after 25 minutes. I think was the time.
Yeah.
And then Schalke come back and draw 4-all. Like, it really summed up Dortmund's season so far. This match, I think.
Peter Bosch, the Dortmund manager, has been given the dreaded vote of confidence by the board, despite them actually tearing it to him because they had an AGM in Dortmund on Saturday. They weren't happy with any of the results at the club.
I can imagine, yeah.
So, I don't think Peter Bosch is long for the world at Dortmund.
No, I mean, this is one of the biggest derbies in football. I think it's the biggest in Germany.
It's up there.
It's up
Bremen
there.
and Schalke will be similar, yeah.
It's properly heated. I mean, it's bigger than any of the derbies in England. Like, it's bigger than
Crystal
United
Palace
Liverpool.
versus Brighton.
Yeah.
With the exception of 1 or 2 then. It's a serious derby, and like, getting 4-0 up doesn't mean anything if you don't win the game afterwards.
Yeah.
'Cause this, like, as a Schalke fan, this is almost better than winning,
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, did you see the footage of the chairman of Schalke going absolutely mental with his children when the 4th goal went in?
Yeah.
He was spotted up in the crowd like he wanted to jump onto the pitch, I think.
Yeah,
Pure John Delaney stuff.
Well, it was a different level to that because he had his family and everything with him.
Yeah, I mean, it was the 93rd minute or something. Those are the results that really stick in the memory.
The Schalke captain saying he's 35 years old and he's never experienced a moment like that in football.
Yeah.
He was in the Champions League semi-final, was he not?
Yeah. It's still better than that, I'd say.
Yeah.
This is away in front of how many tens of thousands of people at the Westfalen Stadium. It's crazy that this has happened.
Dortmund went down to 10 men as well. Like, everything went wrong. They completely capitulated.
Yeah, they didn't have it didn't come out in the second half. The Domenico Tederici, the coach of Schalke.
Yeah.
I can't think of his second name. Domenico's his first name. He's Italian-German. He's only 32 years of age. Apparently, he had them sitting on the floor with him at half-time as he was giving his team talk, saying that it's a new match. Forget about the first half.
So really, they won 4-0.
Yeah, they did. As far as they're concerned, like he made a double substitution after 33 minutes when they were 4-0 down.
Yeah, you don't often see that. Like, even when a team is doing that poorly.
And made his 3rd substitution at half-time then to get off a book player to try and kind of steady the ship, and it worked. And they dominated that second half. Dortmund didn't play, especially after Aubameyang got a second yellow. Did not play at all.
Yeah.
And you have to contrast that to Peter Bosch. And I mean, I don't know how much of the result you can actually properly put down to the manager because, Aubameyang's second yellow was stupid.
Yeah.
It was completely needless. I mean, so when you go down to 10 men, especially like that, with the player who's had discipline problems, who's, looks like he's on the outs with the club, and especially like with the history of, bad mistakes the players have had while he's been in charge, I think he's been very unlucky. But at the same time, after a result like that, his days are numbered.
What are they on? 13 matches played. They're only on 21 points after starting.
Yeah, and they were 16 from 18, I think, at the start of the season.
Yeah. 5 points after that, after another 7.
And they went 5 games without even conceding, and now they conceded 4 in the space of 45 minutes.
Yeah, if it wasn't for teams in Germany being so terrible this season, like Cologne and other teams like that, Dortmund wouldn't, and not for their great start of being the season, Dortmund would be in serious trouble right now.
Yeah, the thing is though, who comes in after Peter Bosch?
That's the thing, because they bought him out.
It seems like that's why he's not been sacked yet.
They spent €5 million transferring Peter Bosch from Ajax. They had to spend a buyout something bigger than Sam Allardyce's one is going to be if he goes to Everton. It was a lot of money they spent on him. And I know he wasn't the first choice. The first choice was Lucien Favre at Nice. maybe they'll go back for him.
I could see that because Nice lost 4-0 at the weekend to Lyon, I think.
And plus, Marco Bielsa is available as well.
Yeah.
So they could get him from formerly of Lille. Someone like that could come in, like maybe Martin O'Neill or Sam Allardyce could be tempted. I would love to see Sam Allardyce at Borussia Dortmund.
He could finally go abroad as he always wanted to.
Yeah, and take on Bayern Munich, take on the big boys.
Yeah.
If he's hired before next week, he'll play against Real Madrid.
That would be something to see.
It would.
I'd love that.
We can all dream.
Yeah. But in Serie A, 0-0 draw was the final straw for AC Milan as they sacked Vincenzo Montella, and Gennaro Gattuso comes in his place for, I think it's just the rest of the season. But what is the plan there? It's very similar to Everton.
Well, the Chinese owners apparently came over recently to review the status of everything, and they were over for the Milan derby that Milan lost.
Yeah.
So it probably wasn't the best, welcome to his bosses. It doesn't seem like Milan know what they want from an appointee.
Yeah.
Because when Montella was taking charge, he did well last season with them. He brought through young players. He brought through cheaper players. He got players on loan.
They finished above Inter Milan last season, and now Inter second.
They're playing good football. I remember them outplaying Inter last season in matches, in the derby matches last season. And then during the summer, it kind of all went a bit weird. They signed a few players for a lot of money. Silva from Porto comes to mind. Bonucci being the biggest one.
Yeah, 40 million.
Changed them from being, okay, they're trying to build something, a team here. They're trying to build like a Dortmund project.
It raised expectations.
It did. And then it doesn't seem Bonucci hasn't performed. Silva hasn't been scoring those goals.
Silva's not been playing as well. They've been playing not Cutrone, but they've been playing the other striker up front. I forget his name now.
Yeah. It's as if these players were signed without the manager's consent.
Yeah.
And he doesn't want to work with them, and he wants to keep that vibe from last season going, which served them well, and he's trying to recapture that as the season's got on. But it's getting worse and worse and worse, and they haven't scored in a home game in 4 matches.
Yeah, and they lost all 5 of the top 5 as well. That's an unwanted record.
No, and the Milan fans are very, very demanding of their team, and this is not what they want to see, and especially with the new owners coming in, and they wanted to get the Champions League this season.
Yeah, and they need it now as well, because apparently an agreement that they thought they would be able to make with UEFA is not possible now for financial fair play.
Yeah, well, I don't see them making it with
No, I really don't either. No. But who do they bring in then? Is it time for Carlo?
I don't think they'll get Carlo. I think Carlo Ancelotti wants to manage in England, or he may eventually take the Italian job. I don't think he's going to go back to Milan anytime soon. Conte is a possibility, but again, not till next season.
Yeah.
At the earliest.
It seems like Gattuso is going to be there till the end of the season.
Yeah. And I don't think Gattuso has it in him to be a top grade manager.
Yeah, we mentioned this off air, he was bottom of Serie B with Pisa, was that who you were saying?
Yeah,
Pisa,
he was at Palermo doing stuff as well, coaching.
Yeah.
Fell out with players.
Yeah.
Fell out with management.
As you kind of expect Gattuso to do.
Yeah, and it wasn't even 10 years ago that he was grabbing Tottenham assistant manager, Milan legend Joe Jordan by the neck during a Champions League match.
Yeah.
These things they're not nice.
Yeah, he's quite the personality to have in the dressing room.
And especially if you have a lot of tamer, younger players that are very impressionable, Gattuso is going to ride them rotten in terms of, just putting them under a lot of pressure and
frightening prospect for those youngsters at Milan. Really.
Yeah, and some players don't respond to that, and I'd imagine some of those players are at Milan right now.
Yeah, it's going to be fun to see how they do.
Milan have built their own budget Galacticos project over there because, like you mentioned, Bonucci and Silva. They also bought Biglia from Lazio. They bought Frank Kessie. Who was wanted by a lot of clubs around Europe.
Ricardo Rodriguez as well.
He's been good for them.
He's been good. Yeah. They spent a lot of money securing Donnarumma.
Yeah.
He's the best paid player in the club.
Locatelli was pulling up trees there last year, and I think he's gone off the boil a bit. They did sign Rodriguez, who was maybe not this summer, but 2 or 3 years ago was also on the list.
He was linked with Arsenal last summer.
I mean, it does read like a good, smart bunch of signings, but they haven't known what to do with them, or the manager never wanted them in the first place.
Like they don't know what system
it seemed a little bit like these were signings made on the recommendation of a smart director of football, a guy who knows what he's on about, good at spotting talent, but without a thought as to how they tactically fit the manager's plan. Almost as if the manager wasn't even asked. He was just giving these players, these are your players now, do what you can with them.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's no way to run a football club. We've seen time and time again that doesn't work.
So do you think that someone like Gattuso coming in to install discipline in these players and to maybe play a standard Carlo Ancelotti 4-3-2-1 formation will work?
I mean, I don't see that Gattuso's going to have that much influence at the club at all. I mean, he's been made manager, but I don't see him doing much there apart from being the drill master,
Yeah.
He's not going... Obviously, I don't know, but I doubt he's going to have much say on the tactical plan for Milan. I doubt he's going to have much say on, how they're coached, how they're drilled. I'd say he's just there to keep them all in line, to get the standards up again.
Drill sergeant.
Exactly, yeah. He's the drill sergeant who's there to sort of interpret the boss's orders, the higher-ups' orders, and get the players on the pitch doing them.
So will they make the Champions League?
No, I definitely don't think they will.
No, they're a good team, but they're too far behind.
Yeah.
There are a lot of players out of form.
It's already too late.
Yeah. And there's too many good teams both in Serie A as well.
Yeah.
That will do us for what has been a really long news segment. Please join us after the break where we will discuss the plight at the bottom of the Premier League. There are a full set of fixtures in the Premier League this midweek, so what better time to preview them than right now? On Tuesday night, we have Leicester against Tottenham. Can Tottenham bounce back after a couple of disappointing Premier League results?
They don't have the best record against Tottenham, or they don't have the best record against Leicester. They played each other multiple times the last few seasons. They've drawn each other in the FA Cup a few times.
Yeah.
And it's never come out well for Spurs. I know they think the FA Cup's a little tournament, but Leicester do perform well against them.
Yeah.
I'd agree, but at the same time, Tottenham should still be winning it.
They would be favourites, yeah.
They would be favourites. They're a good team, and I think they will try and, show, despite the result against Arsenal, despite the draw against West Brom, that they're still they still think they can win the title, or at least they should still think that they can win the title. They should still be looking for top four. Other clubs haven't really pounced on, their misstep over the weekend. So they need to go out and they need to win and they need to show that they're one of the big teams again properly.
I think the top four or the top six rather is breaking into two leagues of three.
Yeah.
Where it's Man United, Man City and Tottenham in one. And
well, Tottenham find themselves in fifth now. So
at the moment they do, but I think
it could be
given their consistency over the last two seasons, I give them benefit of the doubt at this time. It could change, of course. And then you have Arsenal, Liverpool, Chelsea in the other set. And of course, these can interchange, but I obviously think Man City are going to win the league, and then it's a lucky dip between the rest and where they're going to finish.
Yeah, Man United just seem to have that little bit more consistency.
Just have the quality players. Yeah, it's biggest.
It's very tight between even Watford in eighth and Chelsea in third, but then there's just that little gap for Man United there. They have a little cushion at the moment.
Yeah.
A lot of that is down to how well United started the season.
And they still are. They're winning matches, not playing well.
Yeah, look at the Brighton match. They were very poor in that match.
But they very few times in this season. They're winning. When they win well, they win the 4-1 as their standard result this year.
Yeah, that's when they do play well.
But they're not playing that well when they do it. They just score a lot of goals later on in the match to kind of pepper out the result. For the most part,
it's a controlled performance more than a good performance.
Yeah.
I mean, I would agree that obviously City are a length ahead of the other teams. Then United would be better than the rest. But I don't see that Tottenham are that much better than Chelsea or Liverpool or Arsenal.
No, I don't think they are anyway either. But they've just shown consistency the last couple of years, and they have the Pochettino effect, and they're still playing well in Europe. And whether that, when they get the break from Europe now, as they will after next week until February,
until
that might make a big difference to the way they play when they actually have the full week to devote to it. And I know you could say the same thing about Liverpool and Chelsea, but I think that's...
Tottenham have proven to be the better side.
Yeah, at the moment. I don't think they are very good, and I don't think they're going to actually challenge for the league, I think. But
even Pochettino has said this week that he's ruled them out of the title race.
They'd be my favourites to finish third at the moment, which is more than I could say for Liverpool, Chelsea or Arsenal.
And then, Man United play Watford away. Their away form hasn't been great, and Watford are a good side.
It'll be a challenge for them. Because
yeah, it's a big match for them.
Do you remember how Hull did last season when they played Mourinho's Man United?
They just parked the bus, frustrated United, and finished 0-0 at Old Trafford, I think.
Yeah, that was Marcus. The other match was under Mike Phelan, was it?
Yeah.
So
that was similarly frustrating though for Man United.
Yeah, so I
got the win there, didn't they?
No, it was a last minute winner at the start of the season.
Right.
So so you see, I could see Marco Silva. He has experience against Mourinho. He's a fellow countryman.
Yeah.
Mourinho. I don't think there will be that much. Well, how would you say it? I don't think there's not going to be that much love lost between the two managers. They play a different brand of football. They come from. I know they're both former Benfica managers, so that kind of comes into it. But like my favourites would be Manchester United for this match, but I would think that Watford could put up a
it's not. They're not a clear favourite. Like it's very. I could see Watford winning this just as easily as I could see Man United winning this.
Like Watford don't have a good record against Manchester United.
Well, they won against them at home last season as well, 3-1.
Yeah.
Like they were one of the few mid-table sides that actually get one over United last season.
Yeah, but historically, like a lot of these players, they're traditional losers against Manchester United.
But historically, like Watford are probably like they're playing some of their best football.
Yeah, true, and they have players in form. Gomez, they have
and like they've already had good performances. Like they beat Arsenal at home. They were unfortunate away to Chelsea.
Is Gini back for this?
I'm not sure.
Because that could make a difference for them, although they seem to play with more guile is probably not the right word, more pace when he's not.
Yeah, and Deeney probably wouldn't I don't know. Would this be a match that would be suited to the strengths of Deeney as much as it would have been, say, against Arsenal?
But do you think United have a chance to really put? Their away form has been awful in the last while, and this is an opportunity for them to actually do something.
Yeah, because
even in the Champions League,
like they have. Like they need to win here as well, especially because like they play Arsenal next and then they play Manchester City. Like they're two huge matches.
With those two matches coming up, do you think he's going to rest players?
I could see him resting Pogba because Pogba obviously just back from injury. Like he's not playing 90 minutes yet.
But Pogba never does against big teams.
But Mourinho would expect to play Pogba against the big teams.
I think you should be quite careful about resting players because, especially with the big games coming up, I think United do need a win here. I think if they have any realistic hope of catching City, I mean, I don't think they will catch City, but I'd say they still want to.
They still want to put some pressure on City.
They still
they're playing a day ahead of them.
Exactly. So they really will want to win this. If they drop points, even a draw, a draw is a great result for Watford. United, not good at all.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, likely they are going to be playing for 1 point against Arsenal away.
Exactly.
And at home against City.
So ideal for Mourinho for the next 3 games is 5 points.
Yeah.
And that's a long order against, especially if he doesn't pick up the win against Watford.
Yeah. Then on Wednesday night, speaking of Arsenal, they host Huddersfield. We kind of mentioned this earlier. But like, can Arsenal do any better than Man City?
I'd worry for Arsenal in this match because I think they're going to rest players for the exact reason we just spoke about there. They have to play Man United the weekend, and I think Arsenal don't have as deep a squad as other teams, as can be seen in the Europa League performances where they're playing their second string, and when you watch those Europa League matches that Arsenal playing, it's as if these team players have never played with each other before. Most likely because they haven't played with each other before. Every single match is completely different players. And you saw on the bench against Burnley at the weekend, they had Maitland-Niles there. Ozil's apparently really sick.
Yeah, he picked up an illness on Saturday.
Yeah, he travelled to the match and they sent him home because he was so sick. And they said he's definitely not going to play on Wednesday. So he'll definitely be out. Alexis kind of looks a bit blunt without someone to provide passes for him. Maybe Wilshere will get the match a start in the Premier League at last. Yeah. Giroud is probably going to get a game in this. Because
Lacazette could probably do the rest.
Exactly. Ramsey might get a rest.
Welbeck could probably play.
Yeah, but like I don't know what's happened to Theo Walcott. He's not getting
I forgot about Theo Walcott.
Yeah, I think there's something up with Theo Walcott because he hasn't been in squads in weeks and there's been no mention of him at all.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything.
Either he's being sold in January and they've already made that and it's gone, he's out of the unit, or there's something very wrong with him because he has been around in a very long time.
Yeah, I completely forgot about him.
I mean, with all that said, Huddersfield are a good team, but they play a lot better at home. I think travelling to Arsenal will be a bit beyond them, even with all the changes Arsenal are undoubtedly going to make.
Yeah.
You know, Arsenal are still a good enough team. All those, players you talked about being brought in. Giroud's a very good player. He's still a very good player. Wilshere, if he can stay fit, is quite a good player. It'll be a big challenge for Huddersfield to do anything more than shut up shop and hope for a goal in the break.
But I could easily see it being a 0-0 draw and Huddersfield lasting the match, because Arsenal are very blunt when it comes to creativity. They when they lack, and it's not like they're losing very little in this. If they lack Ozil, they already lack in Santi Cazorla. Aaron Ramsey's a great runner, but he's not so much.
He's not going to create chances.
He's not going to create chances. Alexis Sanchez is kind of ruined up front. He's not someone who creates from deep. He's someone who finishes or who combines with other creative players to create something. It's not a great attacking threat. Iwobi's playing better now and he's bulking up a bit, so he's able to compete a bit more, but he's still not the finished article. So Arsenal could be in a bit of bother with this, and failing to win against Huddersfield sets a dangerous precedent going into Manchester United the weekend, because
it can destroy momentum.
Yeah. Especially when it's a home game coming into such a big game.
And their home record's so good at the moment. It's 13 wins.
I think it's 11 wins. But 11 or 13,
11 wins.
I think 13 is the overall record for Arsenal.
Okay. So they're doing well at home at the moment, and this could disrupt that whole thing.
But Everton host West Ham. Is this a match where it's possible for both teams to actually lose?
How do you mean?
Because both teams are just so terrible at the moment.
Yeah.
Everything's gone wrong, both on the pitch and off the pitch. Can both teams just conspire to lose against each other?
Well, Everton always beat West Ham. Do you remember? There's always loads of goals.
That's because Lukaku always scores. And Lukaku's not there to score anymore.
Yeah, but as we said earlier, Everton are in 16th. They're not in the relegation zone.
They're very close.
They're close, but there's...
West Ham are in the relegation zone.
But there's 6 points separating the relegation zone and 9th place. That's 2 wins. That means that the team who's in... is a West Brom are in 18th place at the moment.
I think it's West Ham.
Or West Ham. That team could conceivably be in 9th place.
But that would require West Ham to win and Everton to win, and they really don't look like doing that.
No, they don't. Both teams are playing terrible football. I think it's nailed on 0-0 because
this seems like it's going to be the most boring match, really.
Yeah. It's either 0-0 or 3-3.
Because they're so bad that goals could win. But no one's scoring for Everton right now. They're playing, but they're playing so deep that they're not pushing anyone into the box.
Did you see that defensive line that they had
where they were like a stairway, like a rugby team.
Yeah, it was like a rugby team.
Basically,
they staggered.
Yeah, and it was terrible. And Southampton didn't even know what to do with it, because it was like, what, is the free kick or something?
Yeah.
Why didn't anyone onside? They could have scored way more against them.
And they still scored 4. And this is a Southampton team struggling to score goals.
Yeah, very much so.
They play Man City at the weekend, or this midweek. Southampton could be a bit of a walkover for Man City.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't say a walkover, because Southampton usually battle Man City for a while. They've got some
they're a bit of a bogey
team. Years. Yeah. I think this is probably going to be Man City. Again, they have big matches coming up in the next couple of weeks. As you said, Manchester United in 2 weeks' time, or in 10 days' time, whatever it is at this point. I think they will rest more players, similar to what they did against Huddersfield, without playing. They were trying to rotate the squad a little bit, and I think you'll see a bit of that with a bit of the Carling Cup.
Gundogan might come back into the team.
Exactly. Torre, they're going to have it'll be a bit slower of a game.
Might actually see Bernardo Silva.
Well, maybe. But David Silva will probably be given a night off, or be taken off early if he starts the match. Similar with Aguero, they'll just try and ease them back into the midweek matches.
Yeah, Southampton, they're a weird team. They got rid of Claude Puel because they felt like the team was so boring to watch. But Pellegrino hasn't come in and fixed that yet.
Puel wasn't the issue. The squad was the issue. I think they still have Ward-Prowse. They still have exciting youngsters at the club, but they have no goals. Charlie Austin shouldn't be scoring.
Gabbiadini started off very well for them, but the goals have completely dried up.
Well, it's a different type of game they play that doesn't suit him.
Yeah,
they need pace up front. I think they need a bit more.
Shane Long?
Well, Shane Long can't score anything.
I think Shane Long is very much embodying Southampton.
Yeah, that's probably.
I wouldn't be surprised if Shane Long has sold it in January.
Yeah, you could maybe go to the Championship at this point.
Yeah, I'd say
just
something like that might be in line.
I mean, yeah, even the worst of the worst teams in the Premier League are still doing quite well.
Yeah, they still need to score goals.
No, but I mean, they have some good strikers too.
Yeah.
There's some good strikers in the relegation. Benteke,
Tammy
Abraham, yeah.
Andy Carroll.
Andy Carroll.
Yeah.
I mean, that's Shane Long's competition, and right now he's
looking the weakest link.
And then to round out the fixtures, Stoke host Liverpool. Can Liverpool put a bit of pressure on Marquez? They've Marquez under the radar.
Stoke are only 1 point ahead of Everton at the moment.
Yeah,
Everton
14th.
Everton have been a crisis club for how many weeks now?
The whole season, nearly.
Well, but they've been like talking about Unsworth bringing them down and how they desperately need a new manager and all this. But Stoke, having spent just as much as Everton did almost in the summer without raising as much revenue as them from sales, they are in exactly the same position. They have all these international players that are exciting. That the Shaqiri, they've replaced Arnautovic with Hesse from Real Madrid. But they're going nowhere. They haven't scored that many goals. Peter Crouch is still one of their top scorers this season.
They're relying on him. You can't be relying on Peter Crouch.
No, and their defense is shaky at the back. Butland gets in for good praise, but he's not getting any support from in front of him.
He's getting good praise because he's making so many saves.
Exactly.
It's almost like De Gea was when everyone was praising De Gea when Van Gaal was just because he made so many saves.
Yeah. But it's not as dire as it was under Tony Pulis in terms of the style of football, but it's still not.
The results are
If you judge a manager by results, Mark Hughes isn't doing it. If you judge him by football,
he's a little better, but
he's better. But that's down. They're not playing.
You can see them
football.
easily getting just destroyed by Liverpool now.
Yeah. I don't think we'll see a repeat of what was the 5-1 they did.
It was 6-1.
6-1.
Gerrard's last match.
Gerrard's last match as a Liverpool player.
Don't think we'll quite see that.
No, I think it'll probably be a Liverpool victory.
I could see Stoke frustrating them. They frustrated both Man United and Arsenal at home in the league this season. But I just think Stoke are in such bad form at all. Chelsea hammered them 4-0 not too long ago.
Can Liverpool do in a wet Monday night at Stoke?
Yeah, we'll find out. I think that will. On that note, we'll end this week's Total Football Podcast. Thank you for listening, and please get in touch. Email us at thetfpod@gmail.com and follow us at the TFPod. Follow us individually. I'm at Cheesy Hairpun, and Andrew, you're at Combon27. Please subscribe, rate, and review on whatever platform you choose. That just leaves me to say thank you to Matthijs, thank you to Andrew.
Thank you, Declan.
Thank you.
And it's goodbye from me.